Here is why if you are still 35 and you do not need to worry about your job. See, understand, you've been in the industry for at least 10 years now. And in these 10 years, you would have solved hundreds of different types of problems. So here are three things that you can do if you're 35, keep you very relevant in this industry. Number one, find out what is it that you truly want in life. See, it's the most simple exercise, but the most difficult one at the same time. If you keep quiet for some time and stay in the silence and ask yourself, what is it that you truly want out of this career? The most common response that many people get is salary to pay my EMI, money to sustain my lifestyle. But these are all surface level information. Now, here is my simple formula to find out what is it that you truly want. I want you to go back in your past and think about all those stories that you really connected with. Stories that helped you define who you are. Stories that told you what you wanted in life at that very moment. Stories that had broken you. Stories that made you the man or the woman that you are today. I want you to connect to all those stories and write them down and stay with them. Relax and sit with them, and now try to link all of them and see what is the common thread. For example, for a very long time, I have been dealing with patients who had psychiatric challenges. I had few relatives, including someone very close to me in my own family, who had psychiatric issues. Now, while growing up, I saw how much of time did my mother spend helping those persons through the challenges that they went through. And for a very long time, I wanted to work with behavioral science. I wanted to see how human behaves and why do they behave the way they behave. And that led me to study more around topics like NLP, topics like counseling and psychotherapy. Today, I am a product manager in a multinational company, but at the same time, I'm a student of psychotherapy and psychology. I'm a student of counseling and intervention. I'm a student of neuro-linguistic programming. Now, all of this has happened because one fine day I realized that all my stories in the past is linked to a want to help people who have psychiatric challenges and psychiatric issues. And that's the first step that you got to take as a 35-year-old, even if you're in your 40s. First is to understand what is it that you truly want from your life. Now, you can have several answers and any answer is okay. There is no right or wrong in that answer. But what is important is for you to spend that time. Now, it's very difficult to spend time if you're married, if you have a kid, if you are someone who lives in a family where you have all kinds of distractions all throughout the day. It's worth a good investment to take some time out and go for a vacation, and that's my step number 2. When you go for a vacation, just keep asking yourself, what is it that I want from my life in the next 10 years? If 10 years is too far-sighted, let's start with 5. What is it that I want from my life in the next 5 years? Once you have written that down, through that connection that you make with yourself, ask yourself, what is it that I can do this year to achieve what I want to do in life? Now, if you are a working professional who have been in a certain core technology, or if you're someone who has been in operations, you would have seen a variety of problems that you have solved over time. And at the same time, you would have understood what is it that people pay most for in terms of problem solving. If you're someone who continues to take call and your core job is to manage customer interaction, you would see that the person who manages customer interaction in a way that the customers are happy, there is least amount of escalation, you would see that person shines. Now, if you are that person who is a pro in terms of managing conflict, in terms of managing people-related issues, maybe a people management leadership role is what you are aiming for in the next 10 years. But if you're someone who wants to work in a productized organization, in an organization where they develop product, then probably you may want to look at a 10 years vision of being a product owner, or maybe you may want to own a business where you will use all your skills and learning from all these years and start that business and make money from it by adding value. I'll create a series of how to think about transitions and think about career transitions later on. But for this video, let me tell you the next step after you have determined what is it that you truly want, what is it that you need for yourself, and when you prioritize yourself over everything else, just for once, that is when you figure out the third step. And the third step is to do an ecology check. This is where you ask questions like, why is this the most important thing for me? What happens if I achieve it? What happens to my family, to everything who is dependent on me, or to everyone who I am dependent on if I achieve these in the next 10 years? What is it that I have to compromise to be able to achieve what I want to achieve? In order to achieve what I want to achieve, what do I have to give into the process? Which part of me I need to dissolve? Which part of me needs to come back and let the other part go in front so that it can go and now achieve it? It's very important that we ask these questions, because if you do not do this basic fundamental step of finding out what you truly want, why is it important for you, what do you have to sacrifice to get that, what happens when you get that, what happens if you do not get that, these are all personal questions. And this is how a coach can help you to find out your personal vision. Comment coach if you want my personal guidance to help you go through that exercise, go through that elaborate way of finding yourself, to prioritize yourself once and at a time when it matters the most. I hope to help you and work with you in this partnership.